I'm thrilled about today's conversation with this guest. By profession, she's a counseling psychologist, a relationship coach, mental health creator, speaker, and author of Red, Green, and Sometimes Beige: The Ins and Outs of a Healthy Relationship. She's a hardcore romantic, a sucker for love and love stories. Her own personal struggle with romantic relationships has supported her curiosity for human relationships and how to sustain them without losing one's sanity. Now she helps individuals across the globe to do the same. She has also been featured as a shout out on the famous Drew Barrymore show. She's on a mission to empower individuals and couples with the tools and knowledge to nurture fulfilling and conscious connections in their lives. When not on a mission to connect hearts and heads, she can be found creating content on her Instagram at Hey Miss Therapist or watching reruns of The Modern Family. I am thrilled to get into this conversation with the amazing, incredible, and inspiring Kasturi Mahanta. With that, let's jump into this incredible conversation. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Kasturi.
Hi, Paden. Thanks for correcting
Hi.
me on your name earlier. I want this part to be there because it's fun. Anyway, thanks for hosting me, and I'm absolutely stoked to be here today on Actionables and talking to you.
I am so excited to have you here. I have so many questions that I have prepared. There is so much that I want to get into. First of all, congratulations on your book.
Yay!
Absolute,
Thank you.
absolute treat. And we're going to get into, there are a lot of questions that I want to ask you about the book, in general about what you do. And so I'm looking forward to a very interesting and engaging conversation. So before
Likewise.
so before I ask you anything else, I want to ask you, what was your inspiration to write this fantastic book?
I have been writing relationship related content and stuff on Instagram, which is my main social media, for around it's been 3 years now.
Wow.
And I have been, continuously putting out my work for, public consumption, because I realized that while I was working on relational aspects and I thought it was a very common thing to be talking about, speaking about, or working upon, when I was scrolling through Instagram, I was realizing that the relationship talk and conscious conversations around how to make romantic relationships actually work, or how to understand your dating patterns, a lot of conversation was already going on, but it was really fluff, right? It was like Cosmo quiz is happening, or it was just like, some kind of trivia that really sounded unfollowable, and is that even right, kind of a vibe to like relationship talk, right? So
Right.
there were people who were doing that, and especially from a Southeast Asian or an Indian perspective, the gap was humongous. And that
Yes.
is when I started, writing for Instagram about all these relationship psychology technical terms, and trying and explaining it to people around what works in relationships, what doesn't work, and what might work for you, or what is it that you should look at, red flags, green flags, and stuff like that. Also, the internet is full of so many narratives and lingo that
Right.
people usually get, confused or scared about even starting a topic, because everybody feels either too engrossed and involved into a concept, or they feel like I'm too alienated and I should not be speaking or even touching upon the subject. So it was very, very,
Yeah.
I did not like the space that much when I started off, right? So I started off to bridge that gap. And as I continued my work on social media, of course, a lot of the stuff resonated with other people. They started understanding more, because, I used to break it down very simply, the bigger technical terms. And that is still, I feel like, consider one of my fortes, even as a therapist and as a educator on Instagram, that,
Yeah.
one of my biggest I would say USP is that, I want everybody to understand stuff, and I don't want to gatekeep stuff around, oh, this is too technical for XYZ person. No, there's nothing as such. Once you understand, or you have an intention to understand certain things, it should be as simply put, and of course, and at the same time, maintain the complexities or like the dynamics of context of what we're speaking. So as
Right.
I continued doing that, my work got out into the public eye, and that's how I got commissioned to do this book with Simon and Schuster. And they reached out to me, in 2023, and they were absolutely in love with my content, and they wanted me to do something to again bridge the gap in the print industry, right?
Right.
Even with books, there's a lot of fiction that goes on with romantic novels, and even personal anecdotes of how my love life has been, or how xyz person's love life has been. And there are so many stories and novels around love and romance, but at the same time, for the Indian market, as well as for people of maybe teenage and young adults, and even like millennials, there has never been print media specifically on romantic relationships and how to navigate them in a healthy, conscious way. These conversations somewhere are missing, or are not there that much out in the open, as much as other fictionalized accounts of romance or narratives around love and relationships. Hence, I thought it was a great idea. And of course, as somebody who writes, it is almost always a privilege and an honor to also write for print, and like to do a traditional medium of words, which are like I grew up reading books, and at that point when I was growing up, I didn't have like Facebook and Instagram or
Absolutely.
Reddit to do stories about. So it's one of my first introduction to like any kind of literature or stories. It was books. So of course I have this huge connection with books. I am an avid reader myself, so I was like, of course I hopped onto the opportunity. And then that is how Red, Green, and sometimes Beige, along with my editor, who was very the team at Simon and Schuster has been very encouraging, very young, motivated, fast tracked people. So that really helps, like keep your creativity up, because sometimes it gets hectic with like writing a book, doing social media, catering to clients, like what's happening. But at the same time, I think I kept that momentum alive, just went with it, and Red, Green, and sometimes Beige happened that way. So that was my inspiration, that is how it started, and this is where we are.
Wow, that's absolutely beautiful because I think the reason why, I mean, how we connected online also was I fell in love with your content. Because going back to what you said about relatability, there are a lot of, if you will, role models on social media for the West or Southeast, like in Southeast Asia and India per se, that relatability factor was somewhere missing. And I think your book brilliantly bridges that gap because it makes relationship topic not seem like a foreign or a Western concept or like a topic
Correct,
that is,
correct. And
yeah.
thank you for
And
saying
also,
that. I mean, that was one of my major intentions, and
yes,
that will always be my intention, honestly.
yeah, because I think you mentioned that the relatability factor, right? Because all your characters also in the book, when I was reading, it was so close to home. Like it was something that I could, relate to rather than something. I'm not trying to sound what is the word? I'm not trying to sound like, oh, people are different around the world, but I think culture wise, and I think the way we consume social media today, a lot of our ideas or a lot of our pop culture references comes from the West.
Correct.
So when I read your book, there was like a lot of relatability factors. So everybody who is listening in should definitely pick up this book and read it because one, it is in print, right? And second, it is very, very relatable to us, like young adults, Indian culture, and the way you have explained, you have taken step by step. And going back to what you said earlier about you don't want the jargon to be like too hi-fi, you want everybody to be able to understand these terms because this is not taught in classrooms, this is not taught in colleges.
Absolutely. Correct. And also the fact that, you pointed out something about that relatability. And just to add to that, we have psychology in itself is such a Western concept. And a lot of people still find it very difficult to believe or fathom that, relationships are something that are so natural. Why would we want to go to therapy for relationships? Or
Yes.
shouldn't marriages just figure themselves out? Why do we need a coach or like a therapist to talk to me about how I should deal with my relationship? Right?
Correct.
That is
Yes.
still a stigma, or like that is still a mindset and a narrative around most Eastern cultures.
Yes.
Why? Because also psychology, Eastern culture has always been very influenced by philosophy and religion. And Western culture has been very research driven, very psychology oriented, very math and hypothesis and binary. It's either zero or one. I'm going to prove this theory, that theory. It has always been like that. And even in the psychology field, it has always been the Western psychology has been the flag bearer of everything of psychology that we even know today. And even
Absolutely.
like in our psychology courses also, Indian psychology has like maybe a chapter or two, if you're lucky enough.
Yes.
And otherwise it's all like Western psychology. At the same time, why am I focusing on this is because both cultures, if I just talk of the broader West and the East, both cultures have very different identities and narratives around what relationships should look like.
Yes.
Western culture is very individualized, whereas Eastern cultures are very collectivist in nature. So sometimes when we speak of boundaries, or when we speak of speaking our minds, or when we speak of autonomy and authority in relationships, it's an alien concept to Eastern cultures, because
Right.
that's not how we have grown up.
Yes.
Right? So at the same time, one of my biggest quest, and of course it's an ongoing quest, because it's such a huge topic that I think we need more and more warriors on this front to kind of change the narratives now.
Yes.
But there needs to be a mix. There needs to That bridge needs to be created. It's not that black or white. It is not that you are adopting a certain thing and expecting your cultural relationships to flourish with Western philosophies. Maybe that's not going to happen. And at the same time, maybe being too much in your collectivist Eastern mindset might not help you have a right stable mental peace and have create certain boundaries that may be necessary for your mental health or for your growth. So
Right.
that bridge and that boundary, I think, is somewhere required. And also with red, green, and sometimes beige, I tried to be as mindful of what is practically possible in our collectivist cultures, at the same time adopting the best from the Western psychology concepts, because that exists for a reason too, and then applying that to what seems to be the most feasible and practical for you. Of course, that's just a guide. You read, you understand, you are aware, and then you utilize that knowledge and you apply it completely in your own way in your own life. That is the entire point of actually all of this, right? And that's what even consciously living consciously means. You don't have to follow anything blindly that you see on the internet. You don't even have to follow me or what I'm saying. You might not agree to all of it, but at the same time, have an open mind,
Absolutely.
listen to what's out there, and then take what sits well with you, and then carry on with that insight or that knowledge into how you want to implement it in
Right.
your life.
I think to add to what you just said about, blindly following, I think because it is the culture of like when we were growing up, we had no other
Correct.
option but to consume books. And we had no other option to
Yeah,
listen to stories from elders. And today, the way the world has changed drastically, for the better or for the worse, but consuming
yeah.
whatever is present on social media is so easy that most people, at least young adults, are not being mindful of how they are consuming and what content they are consuming. Correct?
Absolutely. That's a huge problem. I'm considering this a problem, honestly, because
Yes.
there's so many, problems of like identity or personal narratives or autonomy, even like coming within, like who are you as a person?
Correct. And your book beautifully touches on the one thing that I want to talk about specifically is identifying needs, right?
Yeah.
Identifying personal needs. So we'll
Mm.
get into that, but just to stay on topic, I want to
Yeah.
go back to what you said about because of this gap between the Western culture and the Eastern culture, that what do you think, according to your professional experience as a therapist, do you still feel that a lot of people have a bias? You were saying, you were talking about, people still think, do I need therapy? And it's still a taboo because if you,
It is.
yeah, so
Mm.
could you
Go
talk
on.
a little bit, yeah, could you talk a little bit about this taboo and how do
Yeah,
you,
yeah, definitely. Okay. One, yes, it is still a taboo for a lot of people. Even if they wouldn't, like, say that, okay, okay, you go to therapy, okay, fine, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I hope I never have to go to therapy.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a taboo in itself. No, you are like accepting the other person, but you are also like, in denial of the, or you have a certain narrative around like, oh, bichari.
It is wrong.
Or, yeah, or like, I meet a lot of clients on a daily basis, and that's another mindset in itself, which we work through, is that, but look at me, I don't have to come to therapy, no? You know, Yes, but you get to do therapy. You get to, sit for an hour to like introspect. I don't think, again, I would say that there are so many facets to, how we look at therapy, and why is it still a mindset? Maybe because of accessibility, affordability, the right kind of penetration, the right fit of therapists. There are so many categories to why
Yeah.
a certain mindset might be forming. But at the same time, just to keep on topic of taboo, yes, it is still, something that a person would not, it would not be the first thing for the person goes to if they are feeling low. To the point that if you're feeling low, you would rather go for a yoga session than, like, talk to a psychologist,
Correct.
because that is more like chill. So
Yes.
somewhere we do have a long way to go to. Why am I saying that, this needs to change, is because the more it changes, the more people understand and becomes aware that whatever difficulties that we are facing on a day-to-day basis, apart from the work that we are doing, I
Right.
mean, therapy is not a substitute for hard work, or like
Right.
not a substitute for accountability and discipline, right? Until
Right.
and unless we are doing all of that, and we're still, like, suffering in our own ways, we are maybe feeling anxious, we are feeling clueless, we do not have people to talk to, we are in families and we are in huge joint families, but that's not a safe space, nobody understands us, people don't know the real you. You don't have to suffer. I'll just give you a small example. When I was growing up, my I come from a family, and I am from the northeast. I grew up in Guwahati, and I come from a family where people did not go to the doctor immediately. Okay, so there would be, I would be sick, for example, I'd be having a fever, but we would rely on natural stuff, or like, not go to the doctor immediately and be like, okay, let it, give it 2 days, it's going to subside. And sometimes it did. But then at other points, and till I was with my parents and I was growing up and I was a child, all of that was fine. They used to decide all of that. And then when I came to Delhi to study, and then, I started my journey. I was, all alone, living all alone. I realized that, I used to let myself suffer. Sometimes I was having fever, but I'm relying on the fact that, oh, it's going to heal itself, and I'm still going to office, and I'm, doing 8 hours, 9 hours of work, and I'm still suffering, I'm burning inside. Do I have the right kind of environment to like heal naturally? Do I have the right kind of support system? I have nobody to cook for me, I have nobody to make me broth and soup that my body heals naturally, but I'm still in the mindset of, like, what used to happen in childhood, and thinking that my body will perform the exact same way and I'll recover within like 24 hours,
Right.
all while slogging in an office environment. And then I realized that, oh, if I can pop a paracetamol, I can feel better, my body feels rest, and then I can work also, I can balance my rest also, and maybe in 2 days I'll feel better, versus just waiting for it to subside and that going on for like a week or so. I realized that, with mental health and with therapy and all the other tools, I'm not saying therapy is the only way, but there are other psychological tools of regulation, of awareness. Just the psychological bit, the mental work is something like that. We keep on waiting. We know that there is a tablet that we can have and we can feel better. Again, I'm not saying from a mental, like,
Disease.
not like a disease where you pop a pill for your diagnosis, not like that. But we know that we have a tools to feel better, but we
Yeah.
are not
Utilize.
utilizing the tools.
Right.
We are stuck in a narrative of, like, but we used to feel better. I used to feel sad as a child, and then I used to be okay. So why am I not feeling the same way at 40? At 40, you have hundreds of other things that, you have a salary to maintain, you have EMIs to give, you have two children maybe who are relying on you. And if
Right.
you are not emotionally regulated, everything falls apart. So you have to take tools and you have to take the measures. And what I'm just saying is that when you are very closed off to these kind of things, you are just making your life a bit harder. I'm not saying that without this your life wouldn't be okay. Your life will still be okay. But if you can not suffer that much, then don't suffer. Do
Right.
something about it, right? So
Correct.
that is important. And I want everybody in India, and of course in, like, I have so many clients all around the world, especially in Eastern cultures, we suffer a lot for a long time before we actually seek any help.
Right.
So, you know, try it. Try it. And sometimes also, while we are speaking about it, I just want to say that sometimes it's not going to work for you. Or maybe it doesn't mean that the medium is wrong. Sometimes the person also might not work for you. It is a
Right.
bond, it's a connection, it's a
Right.
rapport that we build with, like, the therapist and the client. And sometimes you need to shop for therapists as well, for a
Right.
lack of a better word. So
Right.
do all of that,
Right.
experiment. And see, I mean, something will surely work for you once you give it a shot. So try giving it a shot instead of being closed off to the narrative of, like, oh, therapy, that's not for me. Or
Right.
like, thank God, I don't need therapy stuff. Like, I mean, try
So
it.
you spoke about this this way that we, most people at least in our culture, we suffer, right? Because we wear it as a badge of honor, and I think
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
very close to home because I used to do that. I used to think that the number of hours or the more that I struggled, I somehow deserve success that much.
I
And
become
if
more worthy of success in a
yeah,
way.
I
Yeah.
become worthy of success, and if I am not suffering, I'm unworthy. And why am I getting all these good things? Why is somebody else not getting it, right? So I think in our culture, that is so taboo, which indirectly leads to needing or utilizing, like you said, these tools that are accessible. Of course, like, not everybody could afford them, but if it is something that you could afford, rather than going out for an expensive weekend, or then these
Correct.
tools are available and we should use them, is what
and
you're
and
saying.
also, parent, I have realized in these years of being in this profession,
Yes.
that honestly there are so many good humans and platforms and hospitals in India that give free. I mean, as a private practitioner, I open so many slots of, like, pro bono therapy
Yes.
throughout the year. So
Yes.
imagine, like, in a government hospital, or like, with platforms, like, bigger platforms where, they employ, like, psychologists and psychiatrists. There are so many offers there. You can seek help at a very nominal cost if you are intentional. That intention is what needs to come, and the intention will be more accepted by you yourself if you have a narrative of, why should I suffer, let me make my life easier.
Easier.
I think that changes your narrative and you become more intentional. And once you become more intentional, there are hundreds of routes open for you. You can go to the best if you have the resources and the time and the money and energy. And you can go to the best of the best where they are doing it for a nominal and almost pro bono sessions. So
Yes.
you can avail it. It's just intention and a narrative change, I feel.
I think you're right about the intention part, especially because where you said that somebody might not feel deserving enough. So if it is not resources, even let's say if somebody can afford it, and to
Yeah.
the point that, like, you will not gel with every therapist. So it is
Correct.
about also reaching out to the person who you find relatable.
That is
Talk.
very important.
That is,
Mm.
yeah. So could you speak a little bit about, there are people who'd rather suffer, right? So we're going back to the suffering, this thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
there is a without getting into the technical details of things, there is this person that I know, or a
Mm.
couple that I know. They're going
Mm.
through a tough time, and they're going through
Mm.
separation phase, and they both haven't
Mm.
decided whether they want to part ways. And
Mm.
one partner wants to consider couple therapy,
Mm.
and
Mm.
other is completely against it. Okay.
Mm.
And they were asking me, so rather one person, only one party who's rejected,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
asking,
Mm.
how effective couple counseling would be, and do
Mm.
you know somebody? So my first response would be, yeah, I can put you onto somebody, but is your partner also willing? Because
Mm.
it's a couple therapy for a reason, right? So
Correct,
the person
correct.
said, no, my partner is not willing. So what would you say to a person like that in that situation, Kasturi?
See, again, a very common situation, and this problem surpasses borders. This
Right,
happens with Western couples also. This
right,
happens with, people of other cultures also.
right,
Western couples I'm highlighting because they have been to therapy since they were 13 when we were 5,
right,
right? Like
right,
that. So, resistance comes in, especially when couple therapy, comes into picture. There are two facets to it. One, the resistant partner might fear more criticism. Depends also on what is happening all these years in the marriage or in the partnership. They might fear criticism, they might fear that things will go more bad, or another mindset is that I don't want to wash my dirty laundry in public, I don't think this person can help, and just being resistant to change and help themselves. This might be a byproduct of the relationship that they have shared with the partner who is willing to grow or willing to try out new stuff, or this might be a byproduct of their own experiences and their own disposition and personality as an individual. Depending on that, the partner who is, willing must first make a call of whether they would still be willing to do individual therapy and then go to couple therapy if at all. Couple therapy, I feel, again, it's my own personal opinion, works best when both people have individually done some amount of work. Two people can only pull each other for so long.
right,
Sometimes when both people are on different pages, it usually couple therapy usually becomes a tug of war, then like a smooth journey where we go through 4 sessions and we reach a conclusion. If at the same time the willing partner has already been working on themselves, or is willing to work on themselves or start the journey alone, might as well start there. Not think of, okay, oh, why is my partner not joining now, everything at least start somewhere. You have that intention, you start.
right,
Be a role model that I am doing the work, because their answer somewhere is either based on resistance of like change, or they are giving you a silent answer of I don't want to work anymore for the relationship, I don't care what happens, right?
right,
That might also be a underlying answer to this. And if you are seeing this and if you're seeing the resistance and you still want both of you to change, maybe somewhere you are also holding on to a fallacy of everything will change once we go to couple therapy.
right, right,
Might be the case, right? So no matter what, even if your partner doesn't join, you only join and you only start would be my advice here, okay?
right,
Because as you rightly pointed out, therapy works best when you are willingly coming to the therapist and you are not being forced into coming to therapy only then so that you can be a good partner or a good husband or a good wife.
right,
That doesn't last, and it'll surely not last with a therapist who wants to bring out the truth,
right,
right? So that is a difficult dynamic to be in. So starting the work even individually, and then also garnering or having the tools to actually have a true discussion with their partner and setting some non-negotiables. This is very important for the other person to actually take the partner to therapy. Then they must set certain boundaries around, this is very important to me, and at the end of the day we have given it all, so this is my last shot at trying. So if you are very resistant, I would still want you to change your mindset for the sake of the relationship, or it suggests that you are completely out of it. You're just like quite quitted basically,
right,
you're not even trying, to make a change. What is that like? And doing that in a very non-accusing, safe conversation can really change the entire tone. And I have seen so many people come to individual therapy, sort this out, or even learn the tools of communication, because sometimes you are also doing, just because you are open for therapy doesn't mean you are doing everything right? So you
right,
come to individual therapy, you understand, oh, I am also making all of these mistakes, and then going back to your partner, having a talk, and that talk changes a lot of stuff, and then both people have come for couple therapy. That also actually I have seen happen. So instead of when the person says no and you getting stuck on, oh, they have said no and what are we going to do, we can't do anything, you're not a tree, you move, you go to individual therapy,
right,
sort your own things out, or put out certain questions, try and understand the situation, and maybe things will change. as I tell all my clients, and I remind myself also all the time, because as a human, come on, we all need it,
Right.
is that keep on moving. Sometimes when you feel stuck and you do not have the right answers, your partner is not giving you the right answer that you want to hear, or the
Right.
environment is not, conducive for you. Keep moving in some way. You think that that is the right way, move alone, even if necessary, because things will happen how they will happen. We can only control so much, and we can control how we move and what our intention is. Keep on doing what you think is right for the situation, and usually things do work out.
So tell me something, Kasuri. So when you work with couples, right, and you see
Mm.
that therapy does work for some people and for some people it doesn't work, what do you think is the secret to a successful couples therapy? Is there a common trait or is there a characteristic in both the partners? Like, yes, the willingness to work, but is there something that you have found in your clients that two people come and therapy works, ends up working for them as a last shot? Would you talk a little bit about that?
That's a very interesting question, Peyton. While I cannot say that I have cracked the perfect formula, or like, there's a roadmap,
Right.
uh, maybe someday, but, there is one thing I mean, few things I definitely see that can help a couple benefit from couple therapy and go out more positively than they came in.
Yeah.
One is just hope. So important in life in general. Just having hope that, okay, we are trying something new. And when we try something new, we learn new things. Not being fixated with the outcome. Not coming in with a rigid narrative of my marriage is like this, it's in the dumps, or my relationship is in the dumps. I want this relationship. And couple therapy will give me that. You are setting yourself up for disappointment, pehle only. Okay? And it's very interesting that even in couple therapy, we create visions. We will create visions together, but we will not work with your idealistic vision. Your idealistic vision of like looking at Shah Rukh Khan, woo Kajal 10 times after even getting slaps is is
Romantic,
idealistic. Sorry.
over romanticized.
Yeah, so I'm not going to work with that, but at the same time, coming in with a hope, okay, trying something new will come out of it,
Right.
and letting go of the outcome. What new will come out of it? This is what should come out. If a person forgets all of that and starts behaving, taking 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, I have seen immense change happen to the person's personality. Relationship is what? It's a culmination of you and XYZ person,
Right.
your personality plus XYZ person's personality.
Right.
So somewhere, when you change, your relationship changes. When you change your outlook, your perspective changes, your perspective towards a relationship changes. So coming in with that. And then thirdly, very importantly, being willing to be convinced, being open, and not for my words or theories, no, but just looking at your partner and being willing to be, okay, I see change. Coming in with that kind of openness and gratitude and the acknowledgement, because that is reassuring for the other partner. We are humans. We do not function, we might still function, but we do not function best on tit for tat, or only I am performing and I'm not getting any claps kind of situation. We don't function well like that. So when both partners are appreciative, or are open to learning to how to be appreciative, because hope, having that mindset, and assuming the best, learning how to assume the best. Okay, they are also trying. Oh, he's trying, she's trying. Okay, I see this. Being
Right.
appreciative, a lot can change. A lot can change. And that's why I say being open, not having a fixed narrative of this is the change I want, but just knowing that when change will happen, I will see it, I'll feel it. And then automatically, because you are present, you are appreciative, you have hope, and you are showing up. Fourth
Right.
point, showing up consistently, even if it's difficult, because couple therapy honestly can be very triggering. Because I have seen many couples who have lived for 15 years together but have not haven't had an open, honest conversation. So when you come to therapy, it is not scary. There are no like ghosts and demons, but at the same time, it is raw. It's true. It's authentic. You must allow yourself to do
Right.
that, right? So consistently, and you can't like come up and be just raw and authentic once you've hidden yourself for 15 years. So just pushing yourself to come every week, show up every week, regardless of the anxiety, regardless of the discomfort, and being honest with me and with your partner in this safe space can change so much, so much. What it changes, how it changes is open. Okay, it depends on what is the change you want,
Right.
given that it's balanced and real. But at the same time, following these things, I have seen over the years that changes do happen and people end up going happier, trying to build something better from where they started.
I think the reason why I asked you this question, Kasturi, is because a lot of times people ask, what is the secret of success? And, what is the secret to making $1 million? Or to the topic of relationship, because this idea of successful relationship, or do you even think that you are in a healthy relationship, is not
Yeah,
questions that normal people ask on a day-to-day basis. With the divorce rates being so high in India now, like I think
yeah,
at an all-time
yeah.
high, people
Yes.
just want to match kundlis and astrology, which brings me to a very, very important topic or a structure that you've covered in this book, which I think was so simply and yet beautifully described. And if you could walk us through relationship styles, I think, in my opinion, how people should stop matching kundlis and actually start looking at relationship styles. I'm not saying astrology is BS, okay, that's a different topic, but I'm saying
Mm,
that
mm.
so much emphasis is there on, oh, are my stars aligned with my prospective partner? But how about
Yeah,
what baggage am I carrying? What baggage is my
yeah.
partner, potential partner, carrying? And then will this
Correct.
be a healthy union? Would you talk about the relationship styles, Kasturi?
Yes, yes, I will definitely talk about them. You mentioned something interesting about ke, like, we put so much emphasis on kundlis, okay? My theory is that kundlis are easy,
Right? They're much
you
easier.
know? They are much easier. You talk about stars, you talk about, ye greh hai and
Yes.
wo greh hai, and that is easy, na? Because nobody knows anything. Everybody is like,
That's in the
ha.
air.
And there is one panditji or maybe two panditjis from each side, and they are, the experts, and
Right.
everybody is like, huh. And what you have to do is, koi dosh hai to give XYZ amount of money,
Yes.
koi dosh ye hai to give silver,
Right.
give a horse,
Yes.
do all
Yes.
of that. That's easy because
Yes.
money can buy it,
Right.
right? How many households in India will have face to face talks about boyfriend, girlfriend, baggage, how my mother treated me? What is all of that,
Right.
right? So it is the most easiest thing, and we love doing, the brain loves doing easy stuff, right? That is how the brain functions. We talk of success, we talk of motivation. Why cannot everybody wake up at 5 a.m.? Why is it so difficult to be in the 4 a.m. club?
Right.
Stuff like that, right?
Right.
So we love comfort. And till the time, and I'm saying, please, I'm completely in for, match your kundlis, make life easier for you. I'm just saying, yes, that's also a tool. You want to make life easy, you want to have compatibility, match your planets, go with Saturn, Venus, great,
Yes.
do all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, try and change something. You don't have to be the only revolt, or like, the only person who changes the course of your family. You don't, and you do not carry that baggage. Don't add an additional baggage. But at the same time, just be true. I hope you have the fire within you to be like, yes, kundlis can be the last step. The first step is, do we align? Do you even have the intention to honestly, stir yourself out of that discomfort? Or you are like, "Ke chalo, this will happen, baki sab to." People want to be comfortable, honestly.
Right.
Making these discussions a part of your daily life, that's where we start. Being honest, making your own decisions, not lying to be comfortable, not hiding your needs on a daily basis just to maintain your friend circle. All of these things are happening on a daily basis. Tab jaake you are okay dismissing your own needs and your own wants and marrying somebody based on just kundlis. So you show up every day for yourself in some way, chota way possible. Just ordering, everybody's ordering a cappuccino and you want to have like a Spanish coffee, but everybody will laugh and be like, ah, tumhare badi fancy. Be okay to hear that,
Right.
but do your thing. And that is how you maintain authenticity. That is how you become an honest person. And when you become an honest person on a daily basis, you know what you want to do, you know what is right for you.
Right.
Because not every day a person will be standing there. You don't need a panditji then, or you do not even need, like, XYZ mentor every day to be like, oh, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. Practicing all of these micro habits make you who you want to be. First deciding who you want to be, and then showing up as her or showing up as them every day. And that's when you target, you can actually look at, oh, relationship styles are this and I want to implement this. Otherwise you'll be too scared. These concepts require that honesty and that courage to do something that is not being done. Or even if the other person doesn't know or doesn't understand this, do you have the courage or the boundary that, oh, this person is not aware of these terms, are they the perfect match for me? If not, can I initiate conversation, understand their point of view, are they open to it, and then decide? A lot of us will be like not even bringing this topic up because we know, like, the other person might be anal towards, like, what is all of that? Will I
Right.
be accepted? Will I be loved is the first question, na? So somewhere that courage can only come up to choose and to actually accelerate these conversations when you are courageous or you are honest with yourself every day. So
Right.
just something to start off with, because it
Right.
just can't come just like that, right?
Yes.
Apart from that, understanding relationship styles is a huge bonus point in life, I feel. A lot of us are always chemistry first. Do we feel the
Yes.
butterflies when I
Yes.
look at this person? Oh, he looks so handsome. He has eyes like, a crush of mine. He'll be the perfect match for me. Or, very commonly thinking of, oh, uh, this is how the future, I want my future to be. They are going to be a perfect fit without even knowing anything about the person, right? We get into like future modes. When you know your attachment style, when you know more about technicalities of how to make a relationship work, or what you think are red flags, when you know your negotiables, and things that you can compromise and things that you can absolutely not compromise upon, you just have a upper hand. It is like saying, I am good at math and that's why I am into mathematics research, versus other students in the class who are okay in maths but still are in mathematics research and they are also doing well.
Right.
But at the same time, you are studying 2 hours or researching for 1 hour and then chilling the rest of the day, whereas they are doing 4 hours of work. It's just that.
Right.
But it is definitely those 3 hours you can enjoy more life, and you are not stuck on the minor. You can, navigate life better. So when you understand these technicalities, you have a upper hand. You have a upper hand in choice, you have a upper hand in confidence. And that is why it's so important to look at it from that lens, because the more options we have now, the more confused we get. How do we get past the confusion? Through intentional awareness, and that is why it's so important.
I think as a young woman myself, I was not aware of my own attachment style. And in today's world also, even with social media, you see maybe probably one reel or two reels about it, but that intentional
Correct.
awareness, like you just mentioned, is lacking for so many. Like, I worry, I have a 17-year-old niece, and she has
Yeah.
started dating now, right? So in her friend circle, I worry, like, okay, so these young girls, guys, whatever gender they subscribe to, they are not being
Yeah.
intentional with their partners. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that is very beautifully said, the way you described it, Kasturi, because intentional awareness, if I could go back in my past now, and I have dated a lot, like, the reason I
Yeah.
am bringing up this attachment style is, oh my God, now if I had known what I know now, like,
I
couple,
know, right? Yeah. No, same
would,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
we would probably make different choices. I
Completely different dating
choices.
history altogether.
Absolutely. I would be like, I would never have dated somebody like that. Not from a sense of superiority, but from a sense of, like, it would not work. So
Yeah.
would I
Why?
do it?
I would choose an easier life, no, in some way.
Yeah. Why would I complicate my life? And also,
Correct.
yeah, and also what you just said about like knowing your non-negotiables. I think the work that this intentional work is not easy. Like you said sometime back, right? It is easy to match planets, and it is easy to, but not knowing your attachment style, I think, is like a dating faux pas, or like you should not get
Absolutely.
into a relationship,
You
forget a
should not
marriage,
get into a relationship, definitely, without understanding your attachment style or how you are in love or
right?
how you think you are. Again, the irony is the more you date, the more you understand and the more awareness you have, right?
Yeah,
So
but then
it's a
you
two-way
have
street. Somewhere,
But then you had
some
that aha moment, like, oh, I should have known this like couple of months
correct,
back or a couple
correct.
of years back. You know,
Correct. And
so
that's your brain, like, giving you that sign from what it knows now, right?
right,
And it's easier to always look back and be like, oh, I should have done this. But at the same time, now, because we are so open about it, honestly speaking, I wouldn't like, and I almost am okay with the fact that I didn't know this while growing up. No, because no chance. I grew up in like a society and like in an environment where even if I'm seen with like a boy who is like my tuition mate, there would be questions about like where is this, who is this boy, where does this boy live. So we did not even have a chance at intentionally even dating, honestly, for the longest time. And when in your formative years things like these are so taboo, you just want to break all shackles and just date. You don't think of what's intentional, what's conscious. You just feel like it's like sukhe ko pani mil gaya type, right? That you have been parched for so long that it doesn't matter whether it's Bisleri or Bilseri. You just like
right,
drink, like it's
right,
like that. So if you have the environment, if you have, and especially for today's generation, right? Like you mentioned about your niece, they are in the perfect set of example that where parents are okay, they are okay with the fact that it is natural to date some kind of gender interaction, romantic interaction, sexual exploration will happen at a certain age. It's a part of development, it's a part of human life. People are being more open towards it, and there is more safety, honestly, now in that space, because at least adults can be involved or they understand or they know what's happening. Safe spaces are being created by millennial parents also.
right,
People who are becoming parents now, they are also understanding the
right,
importance of how important it is to be safe and create a safe space for children to come and be open to parents. And all of these things are happening on a daily basis. I see so many conscious conversations happen about parenting and how you parent as well, and that's a great much needed change. People are moving from authoritarian parenting to becoming peers and becoming friends first, and that is how I believe with a certain balance it should be. So
right,
that change is happening, and while that change is happening, understanding your attachment style, reading about them in a way objectively, or just gaining a certain bit of information,
right,
discussing these stuff with your friends can help you choose better, can help you make mistakes, like make mistakes. And it's important to make mistakes, of course. I'm not saying that once you understand your attachment style you will start dating at 16 and you will find your perfect match for life. May happen, but I'm saying, okay, like don't be so fixed with that narrative also.
right,
But once you have that, you have an upper hand, you feel more confident, you are less at loss about why am I like this or why is the other person like this. You have certain answers, and when you have answers, you are calmer, you're much more regulated, your nervous system is not in a frenzy, it's not in survival mode always. And then you do better, you perform better, you are able to navigate life better. You're able to manage both relationships, work, career better. Isn't that nice? You become a more holistic, balanced person. At least if you are a 10, you'll become a 15. That's great. That's progress. And
right,
that's what we aim for with this awareness.
right. So all this work that we have to put in with our partners actually starts with the work that we put in first with ourselves, within ourselves,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so I
Yes.
have a final question for you, Kasturi. What is that hill that you would love to die on? What is that one thing that you could keep talking about for the rest of your life?
That's such a beautiful question. It's making me think, and I'm going to take a minute to like,
Sure.
think about what this hill is. I think I already know. I just want to refine that hill,
Sure.
maybe. I think definitely talking to the world. I mean, I imagine myself on a hill and just talking about being conscious and intentional. That is my hill. I mean, I give me that hill, give me that space, like a chota space in that hill with like a loudspeaker, or maybe I'll try my best with my voice also and just like shout from the hilltops about, are you being conscious today? Are you mindfully living your life? Why did you do that? Did you think about it? Just that, just urging people to be more present with their actions, with their words, with their decisions, and just understanding that each day is your life, not what you did in the past or what you will do in the future. That is just, it's gone. Past is gone. Future is your imagination. What you are doing is right now. Are you intentional about what you are doing right now? And of course, I mean, I'm pretty sure it would digress to relationships and motivation and career and all of that. But I would definitely, my hail is to make people more conscious and more intentional about every second of their life, and still enjoy life. It's not a difficult thing to be intentional. You don't have to be a monk to do that. You can be a householder, you can have all the fun you want in life and still be intentional and be at peace. I want everybody to learn, understand, and even teach people how to do that on a daily basis.
That's so beautiful, Kasturi. Thank you so much for sharing that. It is so, it is beautiful. Like I'm at a loss for words because it is just truly, it resonates deeply. What is your one piece of advice that you will tell somebody who says that working on yourself, working on your relationships is too much work? Like we are here to have fun. We are here to, not make everything so serious. What is that fine line? What is that tip or suggestion that you would offer somebody who has that mindset?
My first advice would be that it's okay. Maybe you're not meant to do the work right now. Though you get to do the work, we are speaking because maybe, somewhere it's conducive for you to do the work. You might not be in the right headspace to do the work, or it might not be conducive for you to do the work right now, and that's okay. Maybe we'll be having this conversation 4 years down the line. Even understanding that you do not want to do the work is awareness. You know, do not force yourself. Live with the fact that I got to do the work, but I chose not to. Do you accept that? Great. I am nobody. Nobody in the world can force you to do what you do not want to do. Don't. But at one point, I believe, and this is a little philosophical, little spiritual, at one point, before we end our life and leave this world, there comes a moment where everybody is face to face with that I have to do the work now. Otherwise, I don't even know who I am anymore. And some people then get into doing the work. Fine, maybe that is how you get inducted to doing the work, and then other people would still, like, uh, bury that question also and act like they did not even hear it, or they do not hear it every day. That is also fine, but just accepting that fact and realizing that you don't have to force yourself to be somebody who does the work or who's a perfect epitome of like human mankind. Do your own thing. If that satisfies you every day, that is your thing. Maybe doing the
Wow.
work is not your thing, and that's okay.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Kasturi, for your time. I know we have overshot, but I've enjoyed every bit of this conversation. And again, to everyone who's listening and watching, if you haven't read this book, I absolutely highly recommend it. It is meant for us. It is meant for young adults who want to change their relationships, who want to change their relationship not just with others, but with themselves. So, where can people get in touch with you, Kasturi? Could you tell us where on social media, where how they can get in touch with you for a therapy session or anything else that you would like to add?
First off, thank you, Baden. I had a lovely time talking to you about everything that we spoke of. And thank you for being the best host with the best interesting questions. I had a ball of a time. I hope people listening to us will also get something out of this, and it will at least make them pause and think a bit And if that happens, I think our job here would be done. So also thank you to everybody who has listened till now. You can follow me on Instagram, where I post every day almost about relationship and conscious conversations around relationships, at Hey Miss Therapist. And you can read more about me, as well as, get links for my book on www.heymistherapist.com, which is my website to book a session or to get in touch with me. And you can also find my book on Kindle as well as on Amazon. It's called Red, Green, and Sometimes Beige: The Ins and Out of a Healthy Relationship. We might also attach a link in the description for you to go and find all of that. So, yeah, if that intrigues you, interests you, definitely either reach out to me, read my book, and if any of my work stands out to you, also feel free to say hi or drop me a DM. I would love to know your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Kasturi.
Thank you, Paden.
That does it for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit follow wherever you're listening to this podcast. I will see you next week. Till then, remember, you matter, your goals matter, and it's really up to you to make them happen. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.